I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.
Yo, here we are, another episode of Locked Up with Copville. I got one of my guys, one of our counterculture members, Anthony from Heroic Nation, is this week's guest. What's going on, dude?
What's up?
Everything good? Good week?
Yeah, just got back from a recruiting visit out in North Dakota.
Yeah, you're gone, right? You and your son went somewhere.
Yep. My
Awesome.
kid's looking at college football, so getting up the recruiting circuit. Yeah.
Oh boy, awesome, guys. This episode this week is brought to you by Tasty Gains. This is a creatine gummy, makes it very easy on you. Creatine gives you increased power, better pump in your workouts. So when you're clanging and banging, the ladies look over, the muscles all filled up with water, you're ready to go. Faster recovery. And for people like me, it benefits the brain. There's studies now showing that there's a benefit to your brain. I need all the help I can get in that area. So I would not recommend something I don't take. And as you see, I have multiple here. I take this every day. It's super simple. They come in a gummy form. Each gummy is 1 gram of creatine, so you can eat 5 a day. Get your creatine in. I don't like eating on camera, but here we are. If you use it's tastygains.com. If you use code COPVILLEOG, you're going to get 20% off. And we're probably going to talk about a little bit of creatine in this episode, I think. So that's all I got to say about that. So football, recruiting.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, dude. So as much of a pain in the ass as it is to like market podcasts and different products on social media, now think about doing that as a high school senior on Twitter, because that's where all of that exists now.
So Twitter is like the capital of like recruiting. You got to put all your videos up and flex on Twitter.
Yeah, if you don't have an X account, like you're invisible, which is pretty wild.
You would think I did, dude. I did create one way back, and somehow I think it got banned. Like it's gone. Like I can't log into it. But I never use it. I don't know how to use it. So I'm gonna pull up your page real quick right here, so everybody knows who you are and what we're talking about here. I'm gonna pull your business page up and then your personal page.
Yeah.
So share screen. We're gonna go. I'm gonna share whatever one pops up first. Okay. So here we have. This looks like your personal page.
Yep.
Okay, so this is this is your personal page. So this is Anthony from Heroic Industries, and then I will go to the other page because I'm a professional and I know how to do all this cool stuff. I'm really a cop that just decided to do this garbage, and here we are. Everybody's got to put up with it now. This is the business page. Add to studio. I got the AI guy flexing, making me look small. So this is the business. So tell us what Heroic Industries is.
Well, Heroic Industries is basically, it's like a reset for the culture of law enforcement, first responders, tactical professionals. And it's kind of I don't know if you want to call it like a biopsychosocial model, but it attacks mental health, physical health, and performance, right? So that's really kind of where we kind of lose sight of things is like, if you don't have all of those things in line, especially in law enforcement, like in this world, like the tactical professional, then you're always going to have something off, and it's going to be off enough where you won't make any real progress. So if you don't focus on your physical health, like your mental health will suffer. If you don't focus on your mental health, then your performance will suffer. And it's like, it's this weird profession where it's like, you can't just be like a regular dude. Like you can't just be an accountant or a teacher. Like you can't just focus on getting kind of in shape. You always have that element of performance that you have to focus on.
I noticed you have some initials. You have some initials in your bio there. So so people know who they're talking to.
Yeah.
What is your background there?
So I've got 2 degrees in psychology. I've got an MS from the University of St. Francis, where I played football. And I think it's important to put that in my bio, only because I spent a shitload of money on it.
Well, I mean, people will say, "Who's this guy? Who's he's some musclehead that's just talking." Obviously, you're in extremely good shape. Make me look like a midget. You have the psychological and mental background with with initials to prove it, that you're not just throwing smoke up in the air and letting it blow away. You're actually, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I ran on top of that, I ran a gym. I ran a CrossFit gym for about almost just shy of 10 years. Towards the end, we kind of transitioned, like we took the good parts of CrossFit and threw out the rest of it and started transitioning to some other stuff. But I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, play college football. So I'm kind of like, I've got a lot of little pieces, and there's tons of people that have done the same stuff I've done at like way higher levels, but I've got like little elements of all of it. And I feel like as far as putting this all together in a context for what we do, I've got a pretty good view of it, like always making it better. But yeah.
And when you were going through the things there, you're listing, like, if this part fails, if that, what do you think about because there's a large amount of the cops that don't have any of those three things going for them. And how does that sit in your mind when you look, and not to be mean to people, but you look at guys and you can look at cops, and it's a pretty high percentage. They have nothing going but the fact that they're in a uniform. What does that tell you about them type of people?
Oh man, it's painful to watch, and it's like we always watch these fail videos on cops and like the fat dudes and like the grossly morbidly obese stuff, and it's like it's super easy to just shit on those guys, and to an extent I think it needs to be done to set the out of bounds markers, right? So like this is what we are not, but at the same time, like I look at that, I'm like, think about how terrifying it would be to go through that job with no hard skills, no soft skills. Like you have nothing but a badge and like a psychological barrier to your own demise on every run you go on. Like that'd be horrible. Think about the anxiety that would provoke daily.
I wonder. And so I came out of the military. I was skinny when I came out of the military. I was like 180, 5'11", 180, 175. I got out, got on the cop diet. I never was like, I got into my fat stage in narcotics, but I always stayed in some type of shape. I can't imagine. That's what I look at, like a guy that just can't even, he can't see past his belly to his gun belt and where his mags are. And think what, like you said, what are they thinking? But then on the flip side of that, there are plenty of guys in decent shape that still have no idea what they're doing when it comes to tactics, fit, other, they're muscle heads, or they can run up, 100 miles. But even a guy that looks in shape can be very deceiving when it comes to actually tactics. We see a lot of those videos you're talking about. The guys are in generally decent shape and they still can't do anything to get a guy under control. So I guess like you said, we kind of see the fat guys and kind of draw to them because it's easy. But a lot of those guys hiding are guys that look the part, but aren't the part.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, your number is going to get called at some point. You're going to get tested on your skills, right? So that at least like the base level of, I was just looking at that video. You remember that video? I think you posted it like a week ago or so. Those three cops had just got smashed by that one dude, and he just ran away.
It was a chick, and they punched him all one at a time and ran away.
Right. And I looked at that and I was like, lowest hanging fruit for those three, just be strong, like just a little bit stronger. So at least if you're strong, you have a little bit of officer presence. Somebody's going to like double clutch and be like, can that dude kick my ass? Right. If I think he is, I'm probably not going to try him. So at least there's that. And then if you're a little bit strong, at least you have some form of brute force, where if you don't have the tactics and you don't have the grappling training or the striking training to know how to effectively do it, like at least you can just grab and smash and you'll probably be okay. It might not be a great turnout, like you'll be sloppy, but at least you got that. But yeah, I mean, before I started getting real deep into jiu-jitsu training, like I was doing tons and tons of competitive CrossFit, and like that translates from an endurance and a gas tank perspective, and the little bit of wrestling that I had, like helped me out to fill in the gaps. But when I started really training jiu-jitsu, like that was when it was like, oh dude, I don't have to exert the amount of force that I used to. And it helps me not get hurt more than anything. Like I don't break hands.
I hold myself accountable for like TikTok. I hold myself accountable for this stuff. And I can tell you, I was not in any shape, 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13, just getting by. And then I had different phases. I started getting in the gym and I started lifting. Then I became big, muscular, and then I still couldn't fight. I thought I could, but I couldn't. But I did. I experienced that officer presence where guys were like, this dude's arms are like stretching the uniform out. He's a bigger guy. Probably don't want to mess with him. Thank God nobody called my card because I still was going to rely on like flailing and punching. And then I transitioned into jujitsu. And then I got to that point where it was like, I'm not great at jujitsu, but I had enough knowledge of the basics, which I think all cops could just get the knowledge of the basics. Then I had that moment of like, I ain't worried no more. Like, I'm not going to have to punch anybody. I'm not going to have to knee anybody. I know exactly what I'm going to do to this guy. I'm not worried about it. And that is the difference in, and then like you said, to go back what you started with is, what is that guy walking around that has none of that doing?
Yeah.
What he's one call away from us roasting him on Instagram or us posting rest in peace, brother. We had your back. We hope your family's great. Like, he's dead. That's kind of where we're at with the world, because the world's pretty rough these days.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I just think about, the times that I've had like imposter syndrome when I'm starting businesses and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And now think about having that 24/7, every run you go on, everywhere you're like, when am I going to get discovered? I can't even imagine the amount of anxiety that would produce on a daily basis. That'd be
And that's where I
horrible.
think guys like Izzo talk about the females being a little more amped up, because now you got a size disadvantage, and you will see, I guess, a lot of females go to weapons quicker or escalate quicker, like yelling. And is that what they're experiencing? Is like, I know there's no way. Like my guest last week talked about it. She said, I'm 4'11", like 110. Like, I know I can't get this guy in custody, and actually admitted that she's waiting and hoping her male backup gets there quick. So yeah, I mean, and then that goes into like mental health. Guys going home every night going, God, I gotta get up tomorrow. I'm gonna go. And I noticed it when the guys would get switch zones. Like, you go for, like, I don't know how you guys do it, but we have like one little area that's the hood, and you either want to work it or you never want to see it your entire career. And for the most part, they kind of funnel all the new guys through there. I loved it. I worked there my whole career, but there were people you could noticeably see their face change in a briefing when they got assigned to that zone. Like, oh God, I'm going to the hood where it's going to be ugly. And they don't want to go. They don't want to work it.
Yeah,
So
that's nervous. That's nervous system. You can literally see people's nervous system shift, right? And and that's exactly what that is. Like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to be in a higher sympathetic mode for the duration of my shift, which is absolutely true when you work in shitty parts of town. But yeah, like you hit the nail on the head with this, with what you just said. Like, I always wanted to work it, right? I was the same way. So when you put yourself there willingly and you're like, no, I'm gonna go face this head on because it sounds exciting. I have some skills and I want to get tested, and there's more shit that goes on there. Then you flip that nervous system issue a little bit, and then it's not near as bad. But yeah, when then the driving around all day like that, like
I can't imagine.
like pegged, like conditioned black all day. You make bad decisions. You're scared of dying. You're scared of like everything. You're literally scared of everything. And then
if you ask them though, they're going to tell you that they're ready. They're gonna they're ready. They're lying to everybody.
Yep. And it's not a very good lie either. Like,
now, I remember when Uvalde I was a sergeant. I was a shift sergeant when Uvalde happened, and I remember going in, and I had I was on day shift. So I had like a day shift, like none of the new guys. It was all old cats. And I remember looking at them, and there was probably of 20, 21 people on the shift. There was maybe one or two where I was like, this guy will be all right. This guy, when I asked a question like about Uvalde, all 21 were running down the hall. All 21 were shooting the bad guy, center mass, taking out and I'm like, dude, these guys some of them can barely get out of their car.
Yeah.
None of them shoot. One of them smoked incessantly, even though it was against policy. It was like just a disaster. But they're living that lie that I'll be ready. The old tale that they'll be ready on the day. But you can look at them and go, none of you are ready. And I don't see any of you at the range. I don't see any of you. We had a beautiful agency gym. I don't see any of you at the gym. You're not at jujitsu. We had jujitsu at the time. My wife brought jujitsu to the agency, so it was free for the entire agency. Massive mat, Master Fernando Tavares, 6th-degree black belt teaching you. I don't know why you wouldn't go when you got like one of the best in the world, and nobody goes. So I'm just like, nobody's ready. But I don't get it, man. They go parade around the ER, peacocking for nurses and going all these other places and playing the part of a cop. But it's like, their card's gonna get pulled, and we're gonna be doing the old bagpipes and all that stuff. And sorry for your loss. And it's upsetting that I would say we, because you're very serious about this. My wife is very serious about this. We seem to care more than the actual people that are at a massive disadvantage, and that's troubling.
Yeah. And I don't really know what the answer is. Like it's like I look at agencies that have like we have exactly what you have. We have, you know, full setups for everything you need, right? All the tools that you need to build, like we have available to you. Now, why don't people do it? And I think some of it is honestly like a marketing issue. Like they just say here it's available, but they're not really selling it as to why you need it. If you look at, you know, even just basic sales stuff, like are you problem aware, are you solution aware, like all those things that they teach you in like marketing, like when I'm selling coaching stuff, like who are the people that I want to market to, and like departments don't have to do it because they'll always exist. Like they don't have to get X amount of dudes in there to make the program continue to run. And so there's no real reason for them to understand like how to sell it to the people that aren't just intrinsically motivated. And
Or
I
make
think
them do
that's
it, or make them do it. Like,
or make them do it.
take a
Yeah.
stand. Like, I look at like I had this, and it was funny. My accreditation. I always joke about this stuff. Like, accreditation to me is a joke. Now, should we have rules and should the agency? Yeah, the concept of accreditation and having things is in itself is a good idea, but it's a joke. But they focus on blabbing that they have, you know, we're sixth time accredited and this and that. Like my agency is massive about accreditation bullshit. Great. So your paperwork's in order, all that. What about your fucking guy? Are you telling your guys, hey, you're gonna die if you don't go train? You're gonna die if you don't learn jujitsu. You're gonna die if you don't wear your vest. You're gonna die if you don't go get proficient in firearms and be really good at it. What? Why aren't we like? Why? I don't understand why agencies aren't that hard about it. Like all these recruiting bullshit, like video, all this stuff, like that is to me is the core. And when you start to talk about changing the culture, think about this. You have a recruiting video showing the old Mike Dilks TikToking and all that garbage that we see, and everybody's dancing and all these Pride Month bullshit we see. There's one version of a recruiting video. If you take that same video and you turn it into like a fucking Navy SEAL looking video where SWAT guys are doing entries and dudes are jumping walls and people are muddy, they got a picture of you working out in the gym. Don't you think you're gonna start to eliminate the people that don't like that stuff, and you're gonna start to catch the eyes of the guys who do? So I think it starts with when everybody, you can't change the standard. You can't get, well, I think you can. If you recruit the right people, then you'll get the right people. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, you can change the standard. The standards are in a lot of places are just arbitrary based on you want. And like, you know, like again, like I don't understand. Like here's what I really don't understand about the disconnect is that like you show all the Pride Month stuff and the TikTok recruiting and all the stuff that looks fun to be a cop. Like that's fine. If you want to do that stuff on the job, like we got 500 dudes on this department, like on mine, like I think there's room for it. Now,
Yes.
if that same dude that wants to do his social media stuff for the department doesn't want to get on the mat and roll and learn to do the same shit that I want to do as a SWAT guy, then there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like there's a base level of shit that we all have to do. And then if you want to go do your other stuff that I really don't agree with or I don't care about, like that's fine. But if you don't do the base level stuff and like learn to fight and shoot and do all the tactical stuff that you wear a gun to work. Like how many, like again, going back to the teacher and accountant thing, like if you like they don't wear guns to work, what go do that, you know, go be like something else where you don't have, like we strap guns to ourselves and go to work. Like,
And I hate saying this because I'm an Army guy, but the Marines have a very good model that all Marines are soldiers. All Marines are trained to kill. So they go through the infantry school, they learn it, then they go do refueling, then they go do, you know, whatever the other job is. But at the base, all the Marines go through the same miserable training to become a real soldier, and then they branch out. Here, it's like, oh, I want to join and be a school resource, or I want to be a detective, and I want you to be a detective one day too, but you don't become a detective or even a school resource, in my opinion, or any of those until you learn the job. And that's where I think if you can do all that, like you said, social media, I get it, there is. And my agency's not as big, maybe, you know, 200, I think, sworn. My wife's going to get mad if I get the number wrong. Someone's going to, it's a little smaller,
right.
but it's the same as a recruiting. If you drag a guy to MEPS, like when I went to MEPS, when they took me in the Army, they sat me down in a chair. If that video would have been some dude pushing paper or driving a fuel truck, I'd have been like, Hey man, appreciate it. I'll go back home. They showed me the 11 Bravo Airborne Infantry video, and I'm staring at the screen, watching these dudes go out the door of an airplane, and I'm like, fuck, where do I sign? Like, I'll do it right now. How do I sign? So to me, that's the same recruiting. And I get these arguments. Well, I had an argument last week, 2 weeks ago now, a guy who was saying that I posted that Polk County video with the, I don't know if you saw the meme or the video with the big heavyset black guy that Grady Judd hired. The guy was massive.
Yeah.
Well, you know, because it was me and Ted had a little exchange.
Right.
Of course you saw it. So I'm gonna let that one go for now. So part of that was people were arguing with me that this is cops mindset that we're so short now, we have to hire those people. I need a day off. I need to go home. I need this. So we need bodies. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, you're part of the problem if you even think that way, in my opinion. Like, just a body. You're going to hire a 400-pound dude because you need a body.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was just talking to who was it? Bam from Wild Chaos podcast. I was talking to him about this, and I said he brought up defunding the police, and as a non-cop guy, he was like, yeah, that's bullshit. And I go, well, to an extent, I kind of agree with it. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, well, just stay with me. Like, again, let's just use the analogy of 500. So you got 500 cops on a department. How many of those cops are actually doing the work? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Half, maybe. So why don't we take those? Right. I'm being generous. So let's take the other half. Let's make them civilians. Let's reduce the scope of law enforcement in general. So we do actual police work, not refereeing arguments between property lines with over leaves blowing in lines, like bullshit like that. Like we all know, right? Civil issues all day long. So like let the non-sworn people that you've taken and reduce the number, let them deal with all that stuff. We go deal with the actual police work, and all of a sudden, like the numbers kind of make more sense.
Yeah, I never thought about that because like child protection's always civilians. They got to go out and do in-field investigations. So
right.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could knock a detective really down to civilian. I mean,
some of it,
or not even called, I guess it would have to be sworn, but maybe like a non-field. I guess you're going into the area of like field versus non-field, or support versus like infantry versus support. So you got the guys in the back that drive the trucks, bring all the supplies, and the guys up front actually, doing the job, fighting the war.
Yeah.
So you could have the war guys, which are the road patrol, and then, the stuff that could be, I mean, that's not a bad concept. Guys could just, hey, go to the station and meet with a detective. He's not leaving the station because he doesn't wear his vest and he's not in shape. But that's some of the arguments from females too, is like, oh, well, females, we connect better with, juveniles for sex crimes. And I'm not arguing that. That's absolutely true. But if you're going to be a cop, you're like, I always have this argument, you still have to drive to work, whether it's an unmarked car, marked car, whatever it is. You got to get there. So you have to physically, and then what happens when you come across a shooting or a robbery or an auto accident, you have to get out of your car. You can't hide behind that. Hey, I'm just a detective, or I'm just a school resource, or I'm just community affairs. The shit hits the fan. What are you going to do? Drive around it, not get out. So that's where, if they're going to be involved in any law enforcement aspect, then they have to be always ready for patrol. But I guess we could get in, if you got into that, interesting way of looking at it, like civilianize part of the job.
Yeah, well, some places do that with like traffic wrecks and stuff.
Yeah, we
like,
have one.
Cops do it. You got your crash cars do it or whoever. But going back with what your point was, is like we need the bodies. We kind of don't. You know what I mean? Like we're putting the cart before the horse with that. Like we don't need the bodies. Like just roll short.
That, or just when you say you need the bodies, and I look at this guy and I go, we need that guy. Like,
yeah. Well, and that's not doing him any help either. Like that dude is going to get into something. And he's going to have a heart attack and die, And if you look at like the ODMP, the Officer Down Memorial page, and you look for the cardiac related events, they almost always, like if you start digging into it, like the stories behind those, the officer, usually it's on the back end of something big, like a car chase, like, and then they have heart attacks afterwards. So you're not helping them by bringing them on.
And then we got the brother, and then you got to look at the brotherhood thing. My old favorite, the blue line, the brotherhood, because there's two ways of looking at that. Oh, we're the brotherhood. We're all together. Okay, we're all together. That means you slugs, you fat people, you people that don't, we're all together. Great. You guys aren't doing the real work. Now you go, are we all together? Like you just said. So here's a group of guys that less time with their family, go to the gym, go to jujitsu, stay trained, still love their family, still do things, but they understand that there has to be a balance between family and coming home to your family. So what about these guys? Like, and I'm gonna get killed driving 100 miles an hour to get to this fat dude that's getting his ass whooped and get T-boned or something because he wasn't able to handle the job and do it himself. So that's where I kind of look at it like, if I'm an asshole for saying it, where's this fat dude's, where's his liability in this? Where's this chick's liability that's 4'11", 102 pounds wet? Where's this dude who doesn't train, who can't do anything? What about me? What about you? What about the guys that do all that stuff and then we're stuck dealing with your shit? Like, but we're always considered the bullies or the bad guys because we say out loud, you're a piece of shit or you need to get trained, but we always end up being the bad guy. I mean, I don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, from an ego defense standpoint, I get that. Like, oh, well, I'm not the problem. Like, I can't take the ownership. Like, that's all ego defense. That's what that is. And again, like the amount of anxiety and stress that it creates to put up that facade and be that fraud all day, every day, like that's painful. So it would make sense that if they get called out, they're going to be like, no, it's not me. It's not me. You're the problem. You're the problem. Like,
So
and
bad.
just to be clear, like I got this a lot when I was running my CrossFit gym. Like, you don't have to be a CrossFit Games athlete or an Olympian or a black belt in jiu-jitsu or anything like super spectacular. Like, the base level of shit that you got to be able to do is like, I don't know, can you bench press close to your body weight? Okay, cool. Like, that's probably enough. Can you squat your body weight or 1.5 times or just over or something like that? Like, can you do that? Right? We're not looking at like, CrossFit Games metrics. Like,
Yeah.
are you qualifying for whatever like, that's not even a thing. Like, you should probably have from a grappling standpoint, you should probably be competent enough to be close to a blue belt, probably. But even that fluctuates. Like, you don't. So yeah, it's like you don't have to be this huge picture in your head. Like, just start getting in shape, man. Like, that's going to make you better right now.
I don't know how we became the bad guys. When I went through, like year and a half ago, I went through instructor techniques in order in Florida to get your instructor techniques, then you can be an instructor and all that garbage in the college and all that. I did it late. I did everything late in my career because I was just narcotics, didn't give a shit about anything but putting bad guys in jail. But I remember going through that, and there was a case they talked about a case in Miami where a guy was like literally like 400 pounds. And he got fired and he won his job back. Like, he won like a lawsuit that they couldn't get rid of him. And I'll never forget thinking like, what? Like, how is this possible? And
Yeah.
I think personally, so I'm going to speak from my agency standpoint because I don't like my agency anymore. The guy who is sheriff now, who won the re-election, who I can't stand, he came in with a really good idea. And he actually went through the process to have a doctor come in and redo what we call a PAT test in Florida, which a dead person could pass the PAT test. Literally, like, I think you can walk it and it's like 6.5 minutes. You can walk it. He redid the whole thing, almost like the Army redid the PT test, and the doctor went through everybody in the agency, answered these questions and went through this whole process to create this new physical fitness standard. And it was legit. It is legit. And I remember talking to him, and his goal was like a 4-year plan. He's like, I'm going to start implementing it and you're going to have to pass it and you're going to have to take it. No consequences. And at some point after like 2 years, it was going to be like, all right, I told you 2 years ago, now you're going to have to pass it. And if you don't, and his end game was, if you didn't pass it, you were going to get like a 6-month admin leave assigned to the gym. And that's how serious he was about it. And you're going to go through, we're going to make you physically fit if you decide this is your career, and be done with it. And then he had an affair on his wife, threw the county upside down, got caught, everything went to shit, turned on all his friends, and here we are. And now there's literally, went right back to the same thing where we had some smoking ass female cop, I can't stand her, she finally retired, who showed up and refused to take it. Like, drove up, signed the roster, DNF, and just left. And that was acceptable. And it's like, we went from this dude's idea of, we're going to do this really strict, the reason I'm so invested is I went to bat for him. I wrote this email where the union was coming after him and defended it with what we're talking about. Like, why do I go to the gym? Why do I get to work around all these people who are lazy? Why do I put so much effort into this shit? only to turn around and he just caved, and now it's a joke. It's a field out there now, and there's no standard. Nobody has to. You don't have to pass it, and it's like, and we were almost there. I can imagine there's agencies with you see the pictures I posted. These leaders, they don't give a shit about fitness. Nobody does.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's a microcosm of society, and society as a whole really doesn't care. So now if you take that and you apply that over top of law enforcement, like, we're really not going to care, which is psychotic. But yeah, it's and I don't understand why hopefully no, defense attorneys are listening to this, but for the life of me, I don't understand why, like, overweight cop clearly doesn't have the physical skill set to do the job of, like, professionally, is what I would say. Gets into a shooting where it's like one of those, like, lawful but awful shoots, and it's like, well, he's justified, I guess, but man, like, somebody else in better shape wouldn't have had to do it, right? And I don't understand why they're not pointing out physical incompetence for these cops. Like, that'd be the first thing I would do. The first thing I would do if I was a defense attorney, I would attack the officer's sleep. Like, what was your sleep like when this happened? There's no way that you could be, in the state that you were and make a good decision. And then the second thing I would be is, like, if they were clearly overweight or clearly not trained, I'd be like, just look at this guy. Like, he cannot possibly have made a good decision here.
And they go after the training records, and that's great. But like, one of the things Dominic Izzo is huge about, which everybody gets mad at him, and I know we talked recently. You said, listen, this guy talking to him, he makes all the sense in the world.
It's hard to disagree with him.
One of the things, he attacked this dude up in New York, this fitness, it was a fitness guy. He's basically bragging online how he wakes up at like 3 a.m. to work out. Yeah, talking about the guy with the ponytail. So this guy's
I've talked to him before.
So this guy's broadcasting his lack, and nobody thinks. So here's my soapbox. I got the whole thing about me using the word goon. I had all these fucking meme pages. Everybody, goon, you're gonna get guys in trouble. Okay, the word goon is good, but like what you're talking about is, but we're not gonna go after untrained, no sleep, all the things you're saying. Like, you're right. If I was a defense attorney, I'd be like, this guy clearly can't even move. Like, what are we doing here? Why did he use so much force? Or why did he use as much force as he did? Or all those other things you're talking about. And it's just that's one of those things that nobody thinks about until it happens. And that's, I think, what guys like you are trying to do is, let's get ahead of it before it happens, before every single use of force and every shooting comes down to what you just talked about. Why don't we outfit our guys and make them look the part? Because the public doesn't care, but they do. Because what's the fat cop is like the biggest donut, fat cop, all that stuff is one of the first jokes. But most of the civilian stuff I see, that's what they're saying. Like, why is this cop so fat? Or what? I thought you guys trained, or I thought you guys were like in shape, or I thought you guys were this or that. And it's like, they see it. We all see it.
Yeah.
But why doesn't the administration see it? Why doesn't the administration do something about it? It just baffles me.
Yeah, culture and priorities, and it's like, they could, like you said, they could just make you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you get pushback from unions. It'd be kind of a pain in the ass for them. It's like, it's never been an issue, so hopefully it won't be on my watch. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and and that's disappointing, and that points to, like, obviously poor leadership, like we all talk about. But like, kind of where I've gone with it is that they're not designed to do that. Like, we're designed to do this for each other, and that's why it's like, how do you promote this to the guys who need it, right? And it's like, well, public humiliation is one form where, if I'm always concerned that if I get into some shit and my dash cam or body cam goes viral, like, I hope I look good. Like, I hope it goes well and I worry about that, So, like, I can't imagine, like, if you don't have the skills, like, the amount of stress that would create with that. But I also struggle to say, well, how do we get across to each other that this is really important, man? Like, this is, like, just being in general shape, being generally strong, being generally fit, and then that's going to filter down to, like, this is another thing I hate, like, also, is you see the back end of critical incidents. And I've been involved in a couple shootings, and I've been on scene for a bunch. And you can always tell the guys who train well, and, like, they're not all SWAT guys, and they're not all, like, but they train well and they were ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, they were ready for it. And on the back end, they fare way better than guys that are like that are not. I saw one guy, he didn't even have his mags loaded all the way because they were too heavy for his back. So luckily he got into a shooting, and he only needed like 1 or 2 rounds. But they were like they all go through with our shooting team, and they count your rounds out and see how many you spent and that kind of stuff. And they were like, dude, where are your rounds? And he was like, I don't carry them. They hurt. And he almost had a heart attack right after that. So like, he was an older guy, he was way out of shape, and it was like, dude, like those kind of things, the after, like that all matters too. And then,
Yeah.
if we talk about like mental health, and this really bothers me about command structure and, bureaucrats and stuff, is like mental health is buzzwords now. But nobody really cares about it, because if they did, they would let us sleep better. They would support us with fitness. They would make these connections, and they're not. It's like, well, just talk to someone. If we give you someone to talk to, it's like, well, that's one little baby step. Like there's a whole cascade of things about mental health that are equally as important as just talking to someone. So
it's a sham, man. It's a sham at its finest. And it goes back to my original thing. It's like accreditation. It's like they're just checking the boxes.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when something bad happens, they're going to take a step back and go, oh, well, something must be wrong with him. It wasn't our agency that did this. We have all these things in order. Like, look at this. Look at our accreditation. It's never going to be them. It's going to be you. And they don't check. Even with I've seen the implementation of these mental health teams. Everybody's got a nickname or an acronym for it. It's still completely, in my opinion, just there for them to be able to say they offered it or that it's in place. Nobody seems to me to really care. Now, there are places that do. I'm not knocking all agencies. After talking to Jordan Ennis about Sandy Springs Police Department in Georgia, I mean, dude, that place sounds great. And I was talking to Kenny. Kenny says, like, where do you guys work? Like, my place is great to work. I know they're out there. But I'm just telling you, from somebody who was best friends with the #1 guy at one point in my career, and then to see the direction that places can go, it's not like we care about you. It's we have the things in place to make it look like we care about you. And my wife went through a real traumatic incident 2-3 years ago, and I was, together we went through it, and there was nobody ever came and said, hey, you guys already got anything? You good? No, it was just like nothing. Then after like a traffic stop that they didn't like, and we ended up in an IA, it was like, oh my God, you guys need help. I'm like, well, I needed help probably last year, but and it was one of those, it's getting to the point in law enforcement where it goes two ways. It's good now that we can ask for help, because I'm sure you remember the days of there was no such thing as like, hey, I'm having a problem. You couldn't even bring that up. I couldn't when my career started with the guys I worked. But then there's people that take advantage of that system and be like, oh God, I had a traumatic incident. I saw a cat die or something crazy. And you're like, what? So you got to worry about the people that are going to sandbag it, and then the people that are, really need it. And then I will tell you, as a guy who needed mental health, it's almost impossible to bring yourself to ask for it. When you're a high performing, like SWAT guy, all that stuff, to go, man, I'm really struggling. I need some help. Like, you don't know it's almost like jumping out of an airplane the first time. You don't know what's going to happen once you cross that door. Is it going to be okay? And so on the physical side, I think it's very important, but then the mental side is also very important. I think they're missing the boat on that as well.
Yeah, and I don't think you can separate it, and a big issue that I see is like just what you said, like, the SWAT guys, the tactical guys, the guys that really like doing the work, this shit wears on you too. And it's like, it's not just a culture of like, well, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to look weak, but it's also, I don't want to bench myself, man. Like, I don't want to take myself out of the game, even though the game is wrecking me. It's like, just like football. Like, I had injuries where it was like, I'm going to play on a stump. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Like, this game is ruining me, but I'm still going to play it because I love it. So it's kind of like that. It's like, how do you navigate that whole thing? That's another conversation by itself.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Because I remember that's how I was. I remember like, oh damn, it's my short week. I'm only gonna work 2 days. I loved working, even late in my career. I was like, shit, I'll work overtime, or I'll volunteer for this detail, or this, the Stone Garden detail for the immigration stuff. Like, let me work as much as I can. But then there's those guys, and my first real problem with that was when I blew my knee the second time. I blew my knee the first time. I didn't even tell anybody. I had meniscus repair surgery on Friday. I came back to work Monday. I was a detective, so I kind of limped my way through it. Didn't tell anybody. Did it on my own. paid for. That's how dedicated I was to the place. Like, I'm not even telling. I'm like, anybody tells anybody my meniscus is torn, I'll kill you. Came back to work, was able to like weasel my way through it. The next time it happened, I couldn't hide it, and it was bad. And I remember having that feeling like, man, like I'm out. Like I just going to the doctor and having him say, you got to stay home. I was like, I got to do what? Like I got to stay home. Like I ruptured my left hamstring completely, like a football was in my leg, and I tore my knee again, and I'm still dealing with that. But yeah, I have that feeling of like, and then finally, as I got screwed in the IA and I kind of went towards the end of my career, and I was like, then I finally hit that spot where I'm like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like I'm done. Like I'm done. I gave my heart and soul to this place, and all I got was like I got a transfer to the jail for supporting the wrong candidate for sheriff. Like that's what I got out of this. So it was like, but that's I think those are all extremes. Like the way we operate here and way up high is an extreme, and then getting to the point where I didn't care anymore when I knew it was time to go is an extreme. But somewhere in the middle is that sweet spot of how it should go. And unfortunately, everything we're talking about is prohibiting that because I think we cater to the weak and the out of shape and the people who don't want to do it because we need numbers, we need people. And instead of raising the standard and letting the bar reset itself, we're too focused on just keep filling the spots.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's like you said, with the accreditation, I think the numbers in the recruiting game, like I always hear that number once the bar is raised and it's like, oh, we got 450, we got 475, we got 500, we can't let it go back down. And then unions start saying we can't let our numbers drop. We need more numbers. And I'm like, I'm looking at the people that we're getting, and I'm like, I'd rather have less. You know what I mean? Like I would rather have less because it's not going to equal more time off. Like it's going to be the same amount of guys marking the same amount of days anyway. So it's like, is it going to give me more opportunities to get the day off? Probably not mathematically. So like,
and they fluff the specialty units up. You know, they fluff all these units up, and there a lot of places I know at one point were way over fluffed in like the DB. Our detective division had people back there, and I hate when when you know something makes sense and you just can't get anybody to listen. My hardest struggle was when I was a street crime sergeant, but I fell under investigations. So my office is in the detective division. I just walked around looking at these people, and I'm like, we got 3 detective sergeants plus me. And I'm like, 2 of the 3 maybe get to work an hour and a half late every day if they're lucky. 2 hours late most of the days, hour and a half late for sure, and they leave an hour early. That's sergeant position. That's sergeant position. Like, so those guys are useless. And the detectives were the same. It was like I'd get there and I'm there at my desk, sergeant. At my desk, my computer, I got 2 guys that are always around. We're the street crimes unit. We're always working. 3 a.m. the phone ring, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, these people can't get to work by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then by 4:30, it's empty in here. And I'm looking at that going, I can't be the only one that sees this. But then we had a lieutenant who was lazy, sleeping in his office. We had a captain that was soft. So it's nobody says anything about this. So you're talking about we have all these detectives with nothing to do. And it's like, well, there's 3 or 4 road spots we could fill back up now, and the road numbers are back up. And then we got this other unit, crime. I get like community affair, all that stuff. Yes, is important, but not as important as calls for service. Calls for service and serving the public is number 1. That's it. Bad guys going to jail and keeping the public safe. All that other stuff was created after the fact.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel like we don't have enough real problems. Like I saw you talk about that, and I immediately think back to like 2020 with the riots. Like we had decent riots here, and they went on for a few weeks, and it was like we had detectives that were leaving. Like the riot is happening right there, and they're leaving the building to go out the other door, going like, "Oh, I'm glad I don't have to stick around for this." And I'm like, "Holy shit, man! Like we need some help, And I don't know. I mean, what do you think about like? Do you think cops stick around too long? Like, should there be a mandatory retirement? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It should be way sooner. So I've heard some people say up to 30 years in their agency. Florida went 25 to 30, back to 25, 20 years. 20 years is it, man. In this world, why do you think all those? So I don't think as many cops are dying right after they retire like they used to. I think it's getting a little better. Technology and health is becoming a little bit more, but you go back to those generations, a couple of generations ago, that those dudes were dropping dead, like they do 33 years, 37 years, and they're dead. Absolutely, there should be a cap. And I think just like the military, military guys will argue this all the time. that we see more as a cop than a military guy ever will, even with deployments. They go over, deployed, come back, and then there's no war for 10, 15, 20 years. We see it, cops see it all the time. Why are we staying 34 years? Why are we staying 32 years? Why? I saw a guy, and so everybody's sending me the meme because his shit's all jacked up. I think he did 46 years. He did his last transmission the other day. He did 46 years. And I'm like, I'm not cooking. His mags are in backwards and upside. I'm like, I'm not fuck him, dude. He did 46 years. Like, I'm not, Copville's not coming after that poor dude after 46 years. I'm letting that one go. But 46 years. So what is he, like 65, maybe 7? I mean, he's got to be like 65. That's way too much. It should be 20 years standard. Something I think should be coming across standardized, because like we know we can stand in one state and this is illegal, and another state it's not. And in one state, I'm not saying we all go across the board like a national police, but for the health, safety, and well-being of officers, 20 years is an eternity in this job if you're doing it right.
Man, I mean, I'm just past 17, and I can see the writing on the wall, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how much longer I want to stick around like doing this for many reasons, but it's like, 20 years is plenty, especially when you're talking about like road cop 20 years, like, doesn't need to be a thing.
No. And if you start to look at like, if you start to look at your life and really dig deep, which I didn't do for a long time, but I was joking the other night. I don't know where I said this. I was talking to somebody that I'm starting to count my time left by dogs. How many dogs do I have left? Because I love dogs. So I'm like, I got 2 dogs. They're 2 and 3. They usually live about 10, 12 years. So I'll be like 62, maybe one more dog. And like, but I've worked my whole life. It's like, we always say that when are you going to enjoy it? When you're, it's just, it's a whole thing. Like now that I'm done and I don't have to do it anymore, I did 23 years with the military. I did 26 total of service to the country and the community. I am glad to be done. And I'm glad to be able to try to bring all this stuff to light. But yes, 20 years of doing, just about any job it's got to be for your brain to do something over and over again for 20 years. And the only cool thing about cop world is there's never a repeat. It's always different. Every call is different. So it's always new, but man, that's a lot on your body, dude. A lot of a body and health, and it's just too much.
Yeah. Well, and then, like you said, like you talk about narcotics, and I was in narcotics for a couple years, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And SWAT's the same way, where it's like, go, everything's new, everything's changing. I got work to do. I got cases to close. You never have any time to like sit with yourself, and like there's so much noise and there's so much chaos. And then if you throw kids into it and you got like kids sports and like recruiting visits and all that kind of stuff, like there's never any time to look at like, what do I want to get out of this job? Like, what do I want to get out of it? Like, I want to serve. I want to do all that. Like, but what do I want to end with? Where do I want to end up? And what is the next part of what I want to do?
Yeah.
Like, what does that even look like? And nobody gets to that point until all of a sudden it's like, hey, thanks. See you later. Like you're done here. And it's like,
everybody says retirement benefits. And it's like, then I'll talk to 15-year cops and say, what's your retirement look like? I don't know. Like how much money do you have on your, we call it FRS for retirement. You can look at it by, you have a cash value and then you have your pension value. And I'm like, well, how much money is in your FRS? I don't even know the login. I've never logged in. I'm like, bro, you're 15 years in your career and your brain hasn't said, what's next? Or what am I thinking about? And I did it. I didn't start looking into my FRS till about 17, 18 years. And I'm like, I didn't know I could retire. I could leave when I did. Like, I was like, man, this place has got me by the balls. I could be able to leave. I didn't do my full 25. And then I went and I opened up my FRS. I'm like, I don't need this shit. I can leave now. Like I had no idea. I can't really collect that part of my pension until I'm 55, which is, 6 more years, but I don't need it. But I'm like, I didn't know that if I left early and didn't collect it, it would be the same value 5 years from now. I'm like, oh, I thought I was going to get So guys don't even pay attention to that, but everybody talks about pension. But if you don't make it there, or you're mentally or physically cooked by the time you get there, was it all worth it? And then these guys today, the old joke, these guys get themselves financially destroyed at young ages and they can't get out of it. Like, of course you're not going to, you buy the F-150 for 75 grand and you're relying on 20 extra duty detail. You have to have 25 extra hours a week just to make your minimum bills. That doesn't work. Like,
well,
and start cutting stuff.
Yeah. And let's loop that back into training. So the biggest pushback that I get for like, why don't dudes want to sign up for programs and work out and that kind of stuff, come to jiu-jitsu. I don't have time and I don't have money. Like that's always what I heard with the CrossFit gym was time and money. And with cops, it's kind of true. Like we don't have time and a lot of times we don't have the extra money. However, if we are further hamstringing ourselves by buying trucks and four-wheelers and boats and going bankrupt and getting divorced and getting, like all the scumbag behavior that, cops do that like we try to pretend we don't do, but but like, we're just digging ourselves a hole. And it's like, you really have to like put things in priority and perspective and,
Yeah, it comes down to the basics. Like the basic stuff is you should be in shape and put bad guys in jail. And I remember I got my best friend, Lieutenant Christian Matheson, would be the example of a cop. This dude's got more money than you could throw at, more money than a lot. But as a lieutenant, I remember him like on traffic stops at the end of shift, and he would be like, "This guy's going to jail." And it didn't matter to him that he was a lieutenant. It was 5 minutes before. It's like it is the right thing to do. And I remember him looking at people. We would get like he was my lieutenant. I was a sergeant when I got promoted, and me and him would look at each other and be like, why is this? What is this guy doing? We go talk to the guy, and it was near the end of shift, and it was like, so you did something different because like near the end of shift, or it was near the end. Like that is the mindset we're like combating when it comes to all this stuff. When I look at it, like one of my IAs I got jammed up in, part of it was, I laugh about it. It was on my way home with 4 minutes left in the shift. And I like looked over and I was like, oh, this guy's fucked up. Like I gotta go stop this guy. And I end up in some like throwing the guy around because he's trying to kick me, and it segued into another one. But that was always the mindset. And that mindset to me continues into all that other stuff we're talking about. And that's why I don't think it's hard to spot the good cops. Because if you see a cop that's doing that extra and going to work and busting his hump, trying to get bad guys in jail, he's going to be easily swayed to go to jiu-jitsu. He's going to be easily swayed to go to additional training. He's going to be easily swayed to go in the gym, even if he's not doing it already, because his mind's already, the job's important to him. It's the ones that are just like, just there taking up space. You can't sway those people. And that's where it comes down to. There's going to be a point in law enforcement where we're going to have to make a hard stand on physical standards.
Yeah. And I wonder if, like you mentioned, like national standards and like if they can standardize truckers, and I'm not saying like national police force either. When people say that, I want to barf. Like that's a horrible, horrible, horrible idea, right? Yes. Horrible. But if you can have rules for truckers where you have to sleep X amount of hours within a span of a week, and you can have logs for that, like there has to be some sort of like physical metric that you can have for law enforcement nationwide. There has to be something like that.
Yeah, but the agency'd have to buy in, and they don't want to. Do you know, like all those posts I make, do you know if you go south of like Palm Beach County in Florida, 25 to 30% of the guys don't wear their vest every day?
Really?
Massive problem. And I don't know how much you pay attention to my page. I try to call it out. You go south, it's too hot. It's too hot to wear a vest. They will work overtime at bars. They will do traffic stops. They will wear their fancy little polo now, and they got the little magnetic body cam. They don't wear a vest. And these aren't just slugs. These are like jacked SWAT dudes.
Yeah.
Still don't wear it. So like, how do you even like that? That's where I'm like, my mind goes, I mean, you got it somewhat figured out. And then I think of that and I go, maybe we don't. Because now you got guys that train, they're fit, they can fight, and they don't wear a bulletproof vest to work.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same as like, why do you not wear a seatbelt? Well, it probably won't happen to me. It's this thing called personal fable where you just like, oh, it won't happen to me. It won't. If you told them tomorrow, like, hey, you're gonna have a dude that you're gonna fight at a part-time at a bar, and he's gonna try to shoot you with a 380 or something like that, like guaranteed his vest is on. Yeah. So it won't be too hot then. But the fact that it's just never happened is just like, nah, I'll probably be okay statistically.
I argued the seatbelt. My wife is a hard stand on the vest and a hard stand on the seatbelt. And I argued the seatbelt with her until she belittled me by saying, well, if you train with taking it off like 3 or 4 times, it comes off the same every single time. And then she showed me how she like flings it off. It comes off every time. I'm like, okay, Like I tried arguing. Oh no, I worked the hood. You know, I'm turning corners. I'm bending corners. I'm jumping out. I don't want to be, you know, the same excuses everybody uses. And then when she showed me, I'm like, yeah, like I can't argue that one. That it comes off just the same every time, and you'll never get stuck if you take it off the same way every time. So everybody's got an excuse, but it seems like there's always a solution. But that's where in law enforcement, it doesn't seem like the top people are prepared to take that stand to implement those things. Like I can't imagine being in charge of an agency and seeing my guys not wear a vest. I would lose my fucking mind. I would lose my mind. And my sheriff will stand out at functions with nobody wearing their vest in front of Walmart, which I laugh. Walmart's like our fucking ground zero. Like everything bad happens at this one. We have 2 Walmarts in our county. This one Walmart is like ground. We've had like 4 shootings in the parking lot or right next to it. Every 10 minutes, there's a shoplifting. Somebody's fighting with the cops. But we'll go out there and hand out toys and presents, and nobody's got a vest on. And the sheriff will stand in a picture with them all. And I'm just like, help me understand this. Like, help me. It just doesn't make sense. But that to me shows if you're going to turn the blind eye to that, that's like the broken window theory, where now you're just letting everything kind of get away from you. And it takes. That's where the standardization, because my wife always says she wants to write the governor. Like, we have a great governor, DeSantis, here. Like, before you go, man, make it mandatory. Like, you will not, and it sounds really shitty to say this, but she says it, and it's the bullying thing. And like, she says, I will show up at your funeral and tell everybody you didn't care about your life. Like, if you don't wear a vest and you get shot, that's, you know, unfortunately, it's going to be everybody's trap, but it's the truth. Like, you caused that problem. So, you know, it sounds crazy to say I'm gonna show up and say that, but you didn't put yourself in a position to win by not wearing it. And I think that's somewhere that maybe the governor should step in and say, you know what, your benefits are gone. We're not paying for a funeral for a guy if it's determined your vest would have stopped the bullet.
I mean, that seems like such a ridiculous thing to even be discussed.
Isn't it crazy that we're talking about it?
You know what I mean?
Isn't it crazy?
But yeah, I mean, if you're choosing not to do that, and especially in positions where you are in a likely chance to get into a gunfight, you know, like you should probably be judged for that. Like, hey, you violated policy. Like, I'm assuming it's a departmental policy that
I think down south that there's now ours is mandatory, but it never happens. I just saw 2 guys yesterday not wearing it. Down south, I'm told from DMs that they have that thing caveat in there. They're not going to, which is going to come down to a real ugly situation, but they're not paying benefits if you get shot.
Well, yeah, and if that is not in their policy, that they make their dudes wear vests, and somebody dies and could have been saved wearing a vest, then that's just going to be a huge payout. I can't imagine that would be the case in this day and age. Like,
I just can't, with everything you see on Instagram and everything you see happening. I watch these guys. I saw a guy 2 days ago pull up, get out of his patrol vehicle, no vest, gun, dressed super Halloween, whatever you want to call it. Walks in the store, gets his drink, hanging around, gets back in, and ours is simple. It's that we wear the nice outer thing, like it's a zip, it's comfortable. You know, you can if you want to unzip in your car and get some air conditioning and all that, whatever, that's fine. I never did. I just sucked it and wore it, but I get it. It's hot. It's Florida. It's 94 degrees outside. But then I go back to physical fitness. You know, like those guys in Iraq and over there were fighting the wars, couldn't just take all their stuff off and lay. They had to wear it. So inherently that's what's wrong with law enforcement in general. That if you go tell a citizen at a bank that like one of the major rules of the bank or the corporation, you're just gonna ignore it if you want to, they'd be like, like, what are you talking about? But in law enforcement, it's acceptable to like flat out ignore the obvious
until it's not, and then there's going to be a rule, and it's going to have your name on it, or you're going to get fired, or like whatever, and it's going to be like, well, this was a common practice, and it's like, well, but now it's not because of you, and we're going to hammer you for it, even though everybody else did.
That's how we always did. That's how we always done it. And that's not gotten us. So tell me about, you run the personal training and programs for cops, and tell me how that goes.
Yeah. So I run several different things. I run group programs and individual programs, and it covers, either either like the one-on-one stuff, like the stuff I'm putting together for you for the running stuff that you're doing is all individualized, right? Is based on what your goals are, how long you want to train. I usually go for 3 to 6 months with one-on-one stuff, and it covers all of your workouts, your training plan, nutrition, and then weekly up to weekly calls, for mindset, motivation, accountability, like whatever you need,
That's really convenient because I get the little notification, the workout pops up. It's simple. I go through. It's like makes it very easy.
Yep, you get your own training calendar. It's got videos. Everything is like it literally just hands you all the tools so that you can just open up the app, look at it, and just be like, all right, I'm doing this, this, and this. I punch the clock, I get it done. I log my results, and then away you go.
And that's where obviously we had a little discussion last week with our friend Ted there from Fit Responder, where I get like there is some point to accountability, like money, group accountability, but I just think sometimes it becomes some of those guys. I did a personal training. I was personal trainer for about 2 years. I got one of those knockoff certificates. It's really easy to get, and I can see where it can get kind of businessy. And then what it did for me, that's why one of the main reasons I got out of it, and I credit you for staying in it because it's not easy, is for me, it took away the experience of working out, where I became so used to going in the gym to train other people. I got like, I don't even want to be in this place. And then I noticed a fallout in my workouts. That's why I got out of it. So I applaud you guys that stay in it, but that does make it, those apps and that being able to connect to people like that, I think that's good for people who like to be held accountable, where they might get a little lazy and then they get a little bing. Oh fuck, I got to do this workout. Here it is. I like that. Like I see it, like it popped up yesterday and I'm like, oh cool. Like new workout Monday. Where's today? Monday. Today's Monday.
Yeah.
So it popped up yesterday, but I like that. But I applaud like people that, like you, that put so much effort into those workouts and helping people.
No, I appreciate that. It does get difficult. When I had my gym, I had to like either train at home or schedule like specific times I knew nobody was going to be around. Otherwise I'd just start working on stuff. And next thing you know, you're 8 hours deep into like working on the business. And you're like, shit, I guess I'm not training.
The guys walk up and ask you a question. Hey man, how do I, and you can't stop. Like I know,
Yep.
I remember you can't stop.
Yep.
So, what else you do? So you do the app stuff in person. You do like the whole thing. You don't own a gym anymore. You don't run a gym. I see you work on your garage, right? You have your own.
No,
setup?
I sold my gym in like 2021, I think. And then I've just been doing online stuff, training in my garage. I do take some limited people. I'm actually putting together this program I'm kind of excited about. It's like a hybrid in-person online version. It's like, I'm calling it the Basic Protector. So it's firearms, fitness, grappling. It's kind of all these pieces, and it's supported like in person if you're local, and then also like there's a whole online course that I'm putting together for it.
Awesome.
So that'll
awesome.
be pretty cool.
And what belt are you in jiu-jitsu?
Purple.
Ooh,
yeah.
God, you're a monster.
Getting up there.
My wife's a blue belt. And I kind of fizzled when I hurt my knee. And I mean, I'm not a cop anymore, so I'm going to play that mild excuse. But just yesterday, she's back into it. And just yesterday, I had that moment where I was walking and I'm like, you know what? I like no-gi. So I'm like, I got it. Like, I got to get back. Even though at the knee, I can work around it. I'm like, I don't care how many CrossFit workouts you program. And this is the God's honest truth, in my opinion. I don't care how many CrossFit workouts you do, runs you do. There is nothing more humbling and more exhausting than a 5-minute roll with another human being. It is the most, you will not, you can't recreate. I don't know. You cannot recreate that feeling. I don't think.
It's interesting because like when I remember when I started, it was like, dude, this is way harder than CrossFit. Like, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking, but this is so much harder. And then now as you get a little better, you get a little better, you get a little better. And then all of a sudden I know how to control the pace. Yeah. I know how to roll like a 43-year-old and not a 20-year-old, So, but that's what's so cool about it is like, then you get to pick what pace you want to work at based on your skill set. Right. So if I want to get a really hard workout, I add more scrambles in and I don't stall as much, I do stuff like that. And then I also know on the back end, like, okay, I'm going to have to do more strength work or more aerobic work outside, like off the mats, because I'm not getting it here anymore. Yeah. So it's just understanding like how to modulate the two and how the two kind of play together.
I remember just doing, like, I programmed some nasty CrossFit workouts. So I would go on that box program one on Instagram and I would find like the worst one. I'd be like, what's the worst one? I'd do it. And my motivation, and I use this, part of my motivation was always, it sounds stupid, but posting it online. And I know people, oh, this guy posts his workout. I did it. That's what kept me going, was like, I'm going to post this workout. If the time sucks, like, it's going to look stupid. So I would go hard. I cannot tell you any CrossFit workout I ever did where I would feel like I did after like a hour no-gi jiu-jitsu, which is a heavy roll class. I remember going when I got assigned to the crime center, so I would go at like 11. So I'd get dressed, go to work, and then I'd go over to the gym from like 11 to 12, and I'd go back. I couldn't even get dressed back in my uniform. Like I would, I had an unmarked car, so I didn't have to worry about like, I could like take my own, actually I was in my personal car. So I could like put my shit in the back. I didn't have to worry about stopping. I was on the brake. And I just remember like walking out with my arms like dangling. I'm just like, I can't even think about putting a shirt on right now. Just how much physical fitness and cardio goes into that. And here we are doing it because we want to, you know, not die, not get killed at work. And we got guys that came and walk up a flight of steps. And I guess, I don't know, who's the morons?
Well, from a fitness standpoint, like jiu-jitsu does some interesting things, because like what you're talking about is like grip fatigue. Like your arms get so burned out, and like from a central nervous system standpoint, like grip is the hardest. It'll burn out your central nervous system super fast. But there's the whole like emotional standpoint of, I remember I was going through some I was probably about a year or two into jits, and I was going through some personal issues where I was like having a rough time. And I remember going in being like super motivated. I'm going to take out my frustration. And I got my ass beat so bad that I was like, I almost wanted to cry. Like I was just crushed. I was crushed like going into it, like emotionally. And then I was trying to like work out and like get some of my like energy out. And then these dudes just beat my ass. And I was like, dude, I just feel like a fucking failure.
Yeah.
But so there's an emotional standpoint to it where it's like, it's really, really important, I think, especially as men, like we do shit like that. Like because it exposes things in you that like you probably didn't know was there.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it, especially usually the purple belts were the best because they were just in between where I got the most help from the purple belts, because I would start to do something and be like, nope, I'm going to choke you if you do that. And he's like, all right, hold on. And then he goes somewhere. He's like, nope, I'm going to put you in an arm bar if you do that. And like, okay. I remember one guy, every time I would post up on top of him when I was on mount, if I put my arm down, he's like, I'm going to break your arm next time you do that. Like he wasn't really going to do it, but I had the bad habit of like, we don't know what we're doing. So I would, there it goes, arm bar. And I'm like, oh my God. And he'd be like, as soon as I would start to reach, he's like, your arm. He's like, I'm going to take it. And I'm like, so those guys always enjoyed purple belts the most because they were so good. They weren't quite to like their full class instructor, obviously, but they were so good that they could tell me like 2 steps before I was about to do something stupid that I was getting ready to do it. And it started to help mold my brain into like, all right, now I kind of, and I think that a lot of people probably get nervous about going in there. And one thing I've noticed is, man, the jiu-jitsu community are just great people. Like everybody in that gym is just, it's like walking into like opposite of cops. Like if you think you're gonna be around cops, it's nothing like that. Right. They're just the greatest freaking people. They'll hug you in public. Like every time I go somewhere, everybody's like, oh, Mike. It's the greatest community and the greatest group of people.
Yeah, rarely do jiu-jitsu guys have big egos. You know what I mean? Like very rarely. And it is one of those things where it's like, if you just destroyed everybody that came in, there'd be nobody that stayed. So like you're gonna get a decent experience when you go into a jiu-jitsu place, you know, for the most part. Like, yeah, there's always exceptions. But
let's talk some counterculture. Did you see the group chat today, Miami in August?
I did see that.
Yeah, we're looking at doing an August live show. I think it's August 16th in Miami, which is cool. The counterculture thing seems to be coming along pretty well. What do you think?
Dude, I tell you, I was talking about Tyler, I think to my wife the other day. I was like, this dude is just getting after it, like with what his vision and stuff. Like I've never had specific conversations with him about it. I'm sure you have more, but like it seems like it is really moving forward at a really good clip.
Put his 2 weeks notice in just this past Wednesday. So he's done with being a cop in another week. And I'm an hour and 20 minutes away from him as long as I don't catch traffic. So now it's like we can put, both of us being done now, retired, we can start putting a lot more into the network. So it's like getting that done. We're talking about building a second studio in Orlando right next to the Anti-Hero one, just counterculture.
Man.
Sponsors are coming along. The Jimmy Watson and Taylor Kavanaugh show is episode 2 airs tomorrow. They got 6 more, and then they're getting ready to sign on for another 8. We're in talks with John Rocker, the old baseball player John Rocker, to come in. That's a possibility. And then we're trying to add trying to have something we're modeling Barstool and trying to have something every night. So I have a cousin that does a sports podcast. So I'm trying to bring him in to do like Monday sports, and then we're gonna have Tuesday this show, Wednesday, and it's coming along good. I think we got a really good group of guys. I think everybody kind of has a role and play, and I think, like I was talking to you about, like a counterculture fitness.
Yeah,
bringing that in. I think that's where we're headed with this, is like a one-stop shop for, like, Kenny's got the training side, like everybody's got something. I just piss people off. I'm an asshole. Like everybody's got something to kind of offer and bring to it. So I'm really excited about how that's going and how the future of counterculture is starting to form.
Yeah, I like the crew, man. I like the dudes from Tone Alert are awesome.
Oh yeah,
Like, yeah.
And we bought that guy in the Meta guy, or not Meta. Who's the guy we interviewed yesterday? The guy was on live the other night. That was like, that dude's he's fucking the Point Man, right? Point Man podcast. He's like fucking security for like bands, like major shit. Like, I'm just like, bro, I would that Friday live, I just sat there, I was like mesmerized by like all these people but you're right, Tyler's a genius, dude. Like he is, his marketing and his editing, like all that stuff he does is like, I had one of these and it's like, I'm fucking beat, and he's over there firing away reels every 10 minutes whether it looks great. I'm like, bro, you're a genius. But he doesn't take any credit, and he's, like, having him around as the in charge guy or the head is really awesome. And I agree, we have a really good crew, and I'm really excited about the future.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Any last thoughts, words, peace, anything you want to say, anything you want to throw out there?
Well, I will say this, based on what we had that conversation in the comments about with Ted the other day.
Go ahead, send it.
But there's no reason, like, there's no reason not to train. There's no reason to try to make improvements to yourself, whether you're a cop or just a dad or whatever, man. Like, there's no reason not to. And especially with cops, like I said, money and time, right? So let's eliminate that as a problem. The time is not a problem, because, like, I'll carve out the workout that you need based on the time you have. Okay. If you got 30 minutes, let's get after it for 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. And as far as money goes, like, the way I do my pricing, and it actually works really well. It's like totally counterintuitive for everything I've ever learned in business, is don't tell people your price, try to get them on the phone, and then you sell them to a high ticket product that they're really accountable to. Right. That has its place. But what I've started doing, cause I don't like sales, and I'm not a super, like, I wasn't trained in sales, like I'm a cop, is I base this based on, like, what you say you can afford. And the payment is based on just being transactional. So it should be transactional enough so you have accountability to it. Now, if you make $1 million a year, that's going to be a totally different number than if you make 38,000 as a cop. But I don't ever want money to be the sticking point for anybody. So if you got it,
seems a little different than the other business model.
Well, what's your purpose? Like, we all want to make money. We all have to make it work, right? It has to work. But, like, I don't take a ton of volume. Like, I'm still full-time cop. So I take 5 to 10 one-on-one clients, and that's it. And then I have a wait list. So
I guess I can say, based on some of that stuff we said, and we're talking about Ted Fit Respond. I'm not here. He made it, and I'll make it known. So it's not like we're being sneaky or anything. That black guy posted, he made a comment about helping, and he said, "Oh, get me this guy, I'll help him." Now, I understand he's not a cop anymore, and he's a full-time trainer, so he has to make his money, and I respect that. I look at a guy like, Tom DeBlas?
Yeah.
Okay, so I look at a guy like Tom DeBlas. When Tom DeBlas gets in the comments and says, find that kid that's bullied or find that person, I want to help him, he doesn't charge them money. I know he helps them out of...
He never would. Yeah.
I know he wouldn't. So I guess I'll take partial responsibility. Is I assumed when Ted said that, he meant like, I'll help him. So I kind of was like, okay, if we find this guy and you're willing to donate your time, and then it was backpedal to, I didn't say anything about helping him for free. I said I would help him. And then it became well, people pay money, they're more inclined to follow the program and all that. And that part I'm calling bullshit, because yes and no. It's always the old thing. If I what was the thing? If I buy a pen, I make you buy the pen, you're going to be more likely to keep it than if I give you the pen and you. But you're like the things you said about cops aren't always the most. They can't afford things. So I'm not knocking dude because he runs a business and that is he's not a cop anymore, so that's his only business. But I saw the word help, and I guess I mischaracterized help as like, hey, I want to help this guy. And like you, I'm not a business guy yet. I still have trouble asking, when these guys say, hey, I want to sponsor you. I'm weird about, I wait like months before I ask, well, how much are you going to pay me? Because I don't care to ask. I know it's a business, but so I guess what you're getting at is you focus it more on you'd rather take somebody at a reduced rate if it means you're going to be able to help somebody change their life.
I want it to be customized for you, right? There
Okay.
has to be some sort of transactional accountability. That has to be a thing. Now, if you make 38,000 a year and I charge you 4K for a program for that's 90 days, like is that appropriate? Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Is that going to create more stress for you because now you're financially strapped based on this program? I've seen that happen. I've had that happen where I've charged somebody too much for a program and all of a sudden they are freaking out because they can't make the payments. They literally can't make the payments. And it's like, sometimes that happens, but sometimes people also pick up $1,000 truck payments where it's like, well, you could have afforded it. So it's a little bit sticky. It's a little bit, but that's where it's like, listen, I go through a vetting process where when you sign up, I go through, I ask you a bunch of questions before we sign up to figure out what is going to be the best route for you. And then we'll figure it out from there. And if you're not a good fit, because you told me $1 and I know you work in a big agency and it's like, okay, I know you make, 6 figures and you're telling me you can only afford $1, then you're not ready for this program. Like more than likely, you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where I like what you say is vetting, because if you take just because, and here's the other flip side is just because somebody has $4,000, is it worth taking them as well? Because if they're just loaded and they're like, here's four, and then they don't follow it. I found that even as a personal trainer, when I took money and I had a guy paying me pretty good money, but then he didn't do shit. And I'm like, at some point, I'm like, I don't want to keep taking it. Like, I don't want your money. You're just going to knock it. Because part of it is like, somebody's going to come to me at one point and go, hey, didn't you train that guy for 5 months? And he looks like shit. And you're like, fuck, yeah, I did. But I made fucking 10 grand off of him. But yeah, but I didn't do what he was supposed to do. So you're telling me he paid all that money. So I get like, for some of that is not worth it. But I think I like what you're saying is almost like almost like your auto insurance slider where you go, I need this, I don't need that, they can customize it with you to go, here's a fair number for the amount of effort you're going to put in to coach me and the amount of time and effort I have to put back into it. Here's our ballpark number that we're both comfortable with.
Yeah. Here's what it's going to take for this to work for you. You know what I mean? Like I said, I want the right people. Like I'm not chasing financial metrics. And if my old business coaches hear me say that, they'll probably be like, what the fuck are you doing? But like, oh, well, like that's where I'm at with this. This is what I think
that goes into, and you're right, because if we're going to change the culture, like we talked about at the beginning of this, we're not trying to get rich off of it isn't going to help, because you're right. Much more than half the cops are not going to be able to afford a $2,000 or $3,000 program. It's not realistic.
Yeah.
So how do you get into helping them at a realistic price? And I used to do like boot camp stuff, and I'm sure you do that stuff too, where it drew in a bigger CrossFit, where it drew in a bigger crowd, so you could reduce the cost and go, hey, we're going to do a group thing cheaper than a one-on-one. But yeah, if you're trying to get rich off cops, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, it's right. It's the wrong market. Good focus on CEOs and like other people like that have the expendable income. Like why would I go out and offer to help cops and tactical professionals unless I really just wanted to help them? And I have another full-time job that I'm not getting rich on that job either, but
you're not, and that's, I like that. And that was all I was saying was when I saw the word help, I was like, okay, he's going to help him. And then it turned into what he said. And I kind of just jibber jab back and forth. But then I was like, you know what, I don't know that. I guess I didn't take into consideration that's his only source of income. I look at it like, well, I make this money from here and there, and you're a cop full time. But again, you're putting in your time after your job too, so he gets back into that whole like you're working full time and you're programming people. But at the core, I think I like your model that you want to come up with a custom plan that helps make sure you're not getting ripped off as somebody who's putting in the effort, and that they're not creating a mental health crisis trying to pay to get in
Right.
shape and falling apart in that angle, because they still got to eat right. They got to die, because there's no secret that eating correctly is sometimes more expensive than just eating old fast food. Like, it kind of gets a little pricey when you start getting into like proper health and eating right and all that. So you got to factor all that into it as well.
And like, I'm sure as a personal trainer, you saw dudes that you were like, man, if this guy does the work, like say that dude in that video, if he signed up and did the work, I would work with him for free if he's doing it and getting it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
like, I have no problem saying that. Like, I want the right people, the
No,
right people.
when I made SWAT and then I trained the next two, once I got out of it, I took pride in, like, my next goal was, the only reward I wanted was my guy making the team. And it kind of became like a group, or a game. Like, oh, Dilks had 4 guys and only 3 made it. And I'd be like, fuck, 1 guy didn't make it. Like, I wanted all the guys I trained to make it. And it kind of became like almost like a rival gym thing. It got within the SWAT team, was like, oh, these 3 guys are training with this guy on the team, and these 3 guys are training with Mike. Let's see who makes it. One other thing I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
If guys or personal trainers are on gear, do you think that's important for their clients to know?
Yeah, I do. It's like, if you are running anything, whether it's prescribed or unprescribed, like, you have to have that honest conversation with people so that they know what's up.
Okay. I agree. And I was always very forthcoming with guys. I would say, these are your normal results, and I am your abnormal result sometimes, because I do dabble in testosterone and other substances. And I think that's important to be upfront with people, because if your personal trainer is like yoked at like 2% body fat and benching like 600 pounds, he's probably running something. He's probably running something. And then to tell you, oh, just if you eat right and take these SARMs and take this product, and you're going to be just like me. And it's like, nah, dog, you ain't
like
ever
Hulk
get
Hogan.
you ain't. Yeah, your prayers and vitamins are only going to take you so far. So I kind of get into that, where to me, it's deceptive, as if you're going to train somebody, but you're cycling steroids on and off, and they're looking at you going, man, I want to look like that. And you're selling them a $4,000 program to look like that. When in reality, and I know that there's only so far a program and diet can take you before other stuff has to take the way.
Yeah, and not only that, but like, Stan Efferding talks about this a lot. It's like, your natural people, right? Your natural clients, you're going to train and program, and especially nutritionally, differently than you would somebody that's even on TRT, right? So like, I've been on TRT for the last couple years. Like, I keep my levels around 800 to 1,000. It's right where I want it to be. But I know that dietarily, like, just for example, like, I can bias less fats now, because I don't need that to do the converting with the cholesterol to the sex hormones, because I'm taking it exogenously. So I can afford to do that. If I have somebody that's not on that, like, I won't take their fats as low, just for example.
I always got into that argument, was like, come on, dude. Like, you can't sell somebody a program if you're running gear and expect them or and then sell them the dream that they're going to get like you, or even market yourself. I think it's wrong to even market yourself and not be honest.
Yeah.
Like, if you market yourself a trainer and you're walking around it like, because most humans, unless they're starved in like prison, most guys are not getting like 6-7% body fat naturally and that big. You're going to lose muscle mass by getting to that body fat percentage, unless you're taking something else.
Yeah. And then, you can even make the bigger argument, like before and after photos. Like, how much do those really matter? Because if you really know what you're doing with those, whether you're on gear or not, like, you can make people look drastically different in about 10 minutes, So like, those are kind of, fraudulent in and of themselves.
And that's usually where we gauge everything is.
Right.
I used to keep mine. I always did and I know they're not super accurate, but I had a gauge, was the in-body scans. One of the place next to the gym had one of those fancy ones where I knew it wasn't super, like, I knew it wasn't perfect, but I could, based on my sight of what I looked like, what I felt like, and then use that one to kind of track the general transition of like skeletal muscle versus fat versus what my percentage was. And that's kind of what I looked at as far as my gauge.
Those are good. That's good data. Blood work is great. Make sure your blood markers and your health markers are where you need them. And that includes sex hormones. and then performance markers. So if you add all of those data points, like then you can start to put together a pretty good map of what's going on. What I started doing too is there's this thing called the perceived stress scale. And it's basically like you take this, it's just like, hey, what's stressing you out right now? Puts a number on it. And then you take that, like, once every other month. So you see if your stress is going up or down or whatever. And that's a good metric to keep too, especially on this job.
Yeah. Stress is a wonderful thing. So, well, man, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all the advice and the insight into fitness and the perspective that, I think you're, take this how you want, but I think you're a very intelligent person. And when I listen to you talk, and even in our lives, I'm looking at this going, here I am fucking cracking jokes. And I got this dude down here that's super intelligent and smart. And he's actually bringing like a real value to this conversation. And I'm cracking jokes, but I think you're a great dude. I appreciate all you bring to counterculture and all you do for your community. And then the fitness aspect, what you're doing for me right now, helping me with everything. I really appreciate it, man. I thank you.
Well, awesome, man. I appreciate that. And thanks for having me on, and keep the memes coming.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right. Later.
All right.
I'm the only white face in this area. You don't belong here. Stop, I'll shoot you in the back.